I had one gal who owns horses. She said her trainer told her she needed to get a personal trainer.
Yeah.
I did a lot of research and was looking up specific moves and what kind of fun toys we could use, the ball or the resistance band. It was a few weeks after she came back and said, my horse trainer said, you must have gotten a trainer because you're really sitting on that saddle a lot better.
I went on a trail ride, which is nothing super challenging. And I got off that horse and I thought, oh my goodness, I forgot those muscles even existed. So I could see how, if you're in a specific sport, like you said there, that would be a very separate set of muscles that you're focusing on. So that's a great point.
Welcome to Redesigning Health and Home. I'm Meg.
And I'm Kerri. We love creating beautiful, functional spaces and living healthy, vibrant lives. So join us as we chat about simple, practical ways to take care of your body, mind, and your home. Whether it's fitness tips, home decor ideas, or navigating those big life moments, we're here to share what works for us and what doesn't, with some encouragement along the way.
Let's redesign this life together, one step, one room, and one habit at a time.
Hello and happy Friday. Welcome to Redesigning Health and Home. My name is Kerri and I'm here with my co-host and beautiful friend Meg. We are so excited that it's Friday, and I am very excited for this conversation with Meg because today she is the guest and going to be the expert that I interview. Meg, how are things over in your household?
Everything is great, and I am so happy it is Friday as well because it is the weekend. It is a new episode drop day, which I always get so excited about because it's really become a fun weekly thing we're doing. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, this particular topic stemmed actually a little bit from my own curiosity and own desire to not start a new fitness program. I've done fitness programs before, but I think I want to focus my fitness program on this age and stage of life that I'm in now. So growing up, I loved playing volleyball and doing those kinds of fun things. And I really do think that as we age, the type of exercise that we can do and want to do changes a little bit, and rightfully so. And so I'm really hoping that you can speak to that specifically for women in that kind of over 50 category. Although I have a hunch that a lot of what you're going to talk about is relevant regardless of what age you are. About, 2 years ago, I hurt my foot playing pickleball, and it happened in the spring. And it really kind of knocked me out for the summer, which was so disappointing because summers go by so quick. And by the time the new year came, I thought, I am not spending another summer sitting on the sidelines. It's so disappointing when you see your husband and your kids out doing fun things and you just, for whatever reason, because of an injury or you're not in the, right kind of shape to join them, have to sit on the sidelines. So I committed to a workout program. It was videos on YouTube, which I really enjoyed. I did really find myself getting into better shape, which was surprisingly helpful for that summer. Fell off the wagon, and now I feel like I need to get onto a new wagon, catch up to the wagon that left me behind. I'm not sure which wagon, Meg, but I need to get onto a wagon. So that's what I want to talk to you about, if you're okay with me throwing some questions at you today.
Well, I love it. And I want to respond a few things to what you just said. One thing that stood out to me was you said you felt so disappointed sitting on the sidelines. The mental part of this is so huge. So that just brings you down. And if you stay in that down state, it's really hard to find that motivation to then want to come out of it and get the help or the PT or the workout that you need to then get to the physically positive state. So now you said it in your little story. I felt disappointed. And that's just going to physically translate into your body.
Sure.
Then another thing I want to talk about is when we talked to Laura, the dietitian, I specifically asked her this question, and it's kind of relating to this. I said, when someone's coming to a dietitian, they're probably really ready to make that change.
Right.
And she said, yes, they've went through all of those thought processes. The reason I asked that question was because in some of our continuing education credits we need to take, I remember taking one class and it was about the mindset. And I just looked it up again. And there are the stages of change. So one, there's pre-contemplation. So first, before I go through these stages, I want to congratulate you because you're already over the hump. Because first there's pre-contemplation. It's that disappointment. Maybe, I don't know. And then there's contemplation. What should I do? What kind of steps do I need to take? Now we're getting somewhere. And then there's the preparation. That's the point where you're saying, should I call my doctor? Should I call a physical therapist? Should I call a trainer? Should I join a gym? You're asking yourself all the questions. And then number 4 is you take action, is when you walk in the door of that place.
Right.
And then we have maintenance and there's the habit of it. It becomes a habit.
Right.
Of course, somewhere in between those last few stages, there could be a little relapse. And Laura talked about that too. That's why the regular maintenance of going to a dietitian or going to your trainer, we're all going to have setbacks, or maybe we're going to miss a couple weeks of meetings. But if you have a good trainer, if you go to a really supportive community center or gym, they're going to reach out to you. Or maybe that front desk might say, hey, Kerri, we noticed you haven't checked in 2 weeks. I hope everything's okay. There are wonderful places like that. So I'm just thinking about you, and I love your personal story because I heard a couple little bits and pieces that you are taking already on that step back to that from that story. So tell me more about your ankle and what happened.
Yeah, well, that's very interesting information, and it totally makes sense because it can be a lengthy process, what you're talking about. It's not like we wake up one morning and we're like, yep, I'm going to call a personal trainer today, It is a lot of weighing the pros and cons and thinking, and is this the right time, and all the things. So that is good information, and it makes me feel better to know that other people are thinking the same way.
I'll interject too. When you just said every word you're saying is making my mind going, because you said all the things. There's time commitment, there's financial commitment, there is how am I going to get there commitment, there is a lot of things outside your control, or maybe resources that you need to sometimes get creative to find a solution. So sometimes that is part of the disappointment because you think, well, I can't afford a personal trainer. So when you find a professional, you just want them to be supportive and understanding and work with you however they can.
Right, for sure. So my story about my ankle goes even further back, and I'm not sure if we were still living on the same street together when this happened, but playing volleyball, it was one of those situations. I had the girls, I think Jordan was 4, so Jessica would have been 8. And at the volleyball facility, there was childcare, and I was rushing to get them there in time for my game, and I didn't take time to warm up. And I went out to play, and I ended up doing a partial tear of my Achilles tendon, which then later I stepped on a marble. People talk about Legos. Legos and marbles should all go in something else. I don't know. But anyway, I stepped on a marble, kind of threw my foot out, and that was enough to do the rest. And so I had to have Achilles tendon surgery at that time. And I went to PT for quite some time to rehabilitate that leg, but I don't think it ever fully got, well, it hasn't. Like even my calf muscles are different sizes. It never fully got all the way back. Fast forward to 2 summers ago, go out to play pickleball, having a blast. I was so excited to be playing this, and was the very last play of the game, and something just didn't feel right. I didn't tear it, but I had swelling immediately and it was painful. We won the game though, I will say.
Oh,
Me and my
oh.
partner, we did win the game. But yeah, and so it was an injury on an old injury, I would say. So that's what happened there. But something happened today, not an injury, that just a little bit, like, I knew this interview was coming up with you, but a little bit kind of like punched me in the gut a little bit. So I'm at the grocery store and I'm going down the aisle with my cart and I hear this thud and I turn around and there's an elderly woman who had tried to get a watermelon out of those big watermelon bins, and she dropped it on the floor and it completely splattered. And there's watermelon juice leaking out of the watermelon. And I say to her, "Can I help you get a watermelon in your cart?" And she points to the one that's on the floor splatted and said, "That one was too heavy." And I'm thinking, yeah, I guess it was too heavy. And I said, "How about this one?" And I got like the smallest one I could find. And she held it and she said, "No, my back won't allow me to carry that watermelon." And I thought, darn it all. This is why we have to do this stuff now, so that when we're elderly, if we want that watermelon, we can get that darn watermelon into our cart, you know? As something as simple as getting, well, what we think is simple as getting a watermelon. Now, they are heavy. I'm not saying that they're not, but it was just another reminder. And I think when Sue was on our podcast, she mentioned it too, right? Being able to carry the groceries or take out the dog or pick up the grandchildren or whatever. So all of those things, yeah, you have to work on it. It doesn't just come knocking at your door, right?
Well, yeah, wow, what a story. So, did she get a watermelon?
No, she
She
didn't.
didn't.
Yeah, she said it's
Okay.
okay. And I was like, okay. But it was just a reminder.
And I'm sure she now is sitting at home thinking about, being disappointed because
Yeah.
she had that setback and it was a big realization. So,
Right. Right.
yes, I'm feeling for her. So,
Yes,
I
me
will
too.
think
I know,
about
me too.
her.
Yes. So that being said, we're moving on to the positive, and
Yeah.
I am excited to ask you some questions. So I brainstormed some questions, and feel free to jump in at any time if you makes you think of other things.
Perfect.
So you are always really great about reminding people to follow their physician's directives before starting a program. And so I do want you to speak a little bit to the importance of that. But what other advice might you give to someone like me who's primarily been walking for exercise and hasn't been doing too much else, to where to even begin? What kind of program do I want to look for?
Well, I will tell you, you want to first find a program that has certified instructors, certified personal trainers, because as we talked about before, you can go on a wealth of social media and there's a lot of influencers that are doing their own thing. And we want to do all the things they're doing. But if you want to make sure that you have someone that's really going to support your journey, take their time to create a program for you. And you spoke about walking. I mean, walking is number one. If you can go for good, strong walks, that is steady state cardio. That's all great. But if you were to walk into maybe a fitness facility that I was working at and asked them for a personal trainer, you would hope that they would maybe lay out the bios of the people they have available. And then you could maybe even talk to each one of them
Uh-huh.
and then let's say you'd pick me.
Uh-huh.
Say, oh, I want to speak with Meg. The way I would go about it is I would talk to what you've been doing. You're telling me you're walking. I would want to be encouraging, saying that's great. What are your goals? What are your limitations? And I'm not even talking maybe physically. What are your limitations?
Uh-huh.
Will your family support you through this? Do you have any time limitations to meet?
Uh-huh.
How can I best encourage you to make sure you meet our appointments? Or
Uh-huh.
maybe you'll ask me, hey, I might want to be flexible. Are you up for that? So just a wealth of questions to start, to
Right.
one, to see, hey, I think this might be a good match.
Right.
And then the physical, of course, yes. If you have any limitations where maybe once or twice you heard your doctor tell you, oh, don't flex at the hip more than 30 degrees. If you have that, I would always, even if I hear a little bit, or even if you told me about your ankle, I might say, a lot of people get upset or don't like to hear this, but I'm going to ask you, it's for your benefit and mine. Can you just give a call to your doctor? Just give a call, tell them
Yeah.
what you're at the point you want to work with a personal trainer. Let them write a note. Say, Kerri has no restrictions. I want her to work out as hard as she can.
Right.
Or it might say, I'm so happy Kerri wants to work with a personal trainer. She has seen a doctor for the surgery. She needs to strengthen this, or this.
Right.
So maybe then once your trainer would have the information, they might then say, I think a physical therapist might be a great place to start. Or why don't we give your doctor a call and just talk to them? So
Right.
I think even though I've heard, now don't quote me, I'm not every trainer, they don't necessarily want to do that because we do as trainers get a lot of pushback about that doctor approval. It's because it's another step.
Yep.
I don't want to call my doctor.
Right.
And I try to just say, seriously, it's a phone call. They're
Yeah.
usually so happy that you're checking in with them
Right.
that they'll just fax a note or
Yeah. And in the day of my chart, it might not even require a phone call. It could end up being a message.
1,000%. Yes.
Yes.
So that person might want to say, but I want to start right now, which
Yeah.
is wonderful because they're at that action stage of the change. But I would then say, that's so great. Why don't we walk the track? We'll talk. This will be the time to get to know. So we're going to still move. So I
Yeah.
would definitely encourage you, come in really comfortable clothing, bring water. Let's
Right.
talk and
Yes.
assess, assess,
Right.
assess, assess.
Yes.
And some may do some stretch tests, or there are some assessments, the sit and reach and stuff like that. But
Sure.
I just want to get to know the person I'm going to be working with, let
Right.
alone the body we're going to be
Right.
working with,
Sure. Yeah.
and the goals, and come up with a good, doable program. So there are the SMART goals. Sometimes I will use that just to help encourage my client. Let's keep it right within the small framework. So specific and small for this. I want to work out twice a week, and it has to be measurable. You have to be able to say, did I do it? Am I achieving that goal for the A? Is it attainable, achievable? If someone says, I want to lose 100 pounds in a week,
Right.
that's not going to be attainable, achievable, reachable in the amount of time we have. So we want to make stair steps. Let's create one little step of goals. Let's move towards that.
Right.
Small steps into a big achievable plan. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. That makes some good sense. When I was listening to you talking about that, this might be a little side road, but I want to go down it because I think it's super important. When we have children and we teach our children, we might have very specific values that are important to us that we want to pass on to our children. And some families are very good about integrating movement and exercise and just, getting your heart pumping. And I know that you were that kind of parent. And I think it shows now because of the children that you have. And, they're both very athletic and very into physical movement. And it just reminds me to remind the parents out there that this is as important as say your pleases and thank yous and, whatever those things might be that you really want your children to learn, is to learn to love exercise. But now I almost want to treat myself as if I'm the child. What if I could be a parent again? What would I tell myself? right? Because it has to come for me from an encouraging space rather than oh, you have to do this because, you have to lose this much weight and you have to look like this and be a size whatever. That's not going to work for me. I'm not trying to get to be a certain size. What my goal is just to feel like I can go for those hikes and lift those things and do the things that I want to do. And so strength really is, I think, one of the biggest goals for me. I've got my walking piece going, but I do want to add some strength training into there. So just occurred to me, like, how would you talk to a little child about movement and exercise? Why is it important? All of those things still apply to ourselves as an adult at any age and stage. And so giving ourselves some grace, talking to ourselves and encouraging ourselves gently, I think is, at least for me, it's the only thing that's going to work. It's the
Yes,
only thing that's going to
yes.
work. So I would love to hear your thoughts on some of the psychology that goes into our approach to exercise.
Well, I will tell you, like you were just talking about, remember that book, Everything We Learned in Kindergarten?
Uh-huh.
Sleep when you're tired, eat when you're hungry,
Yeah.
run when you've got energy.
Yes.
So that's nice that you're thinking about that because we need to be patient with ourselves. But yes, we want to be physically active so we can be physically more fit. So our life is just a little easier. I
Yes.
think, but you talked about that 5-hour canoe ride, carrying your canoe over the beaver dams. So I think you're doing a great job. But to answer some of the questions, so I'm just going to go through a couple myths about maybe weight training, or as we get older, we think, well, I'll never grow muscles. I'm 60 years old. How am I going to strength build? So women over 55 can't build muscle. That's false. That's a myth. With strength training, women can build muscles and improve bone density at any age. Countering age related muscle loss, progressive overload is key. Now, progressive means, I think Sue touched on this. If you pick up a 3-pound weight, you can still get to fatigue as you would maybe with a 20-pound weight. It just will take you a lot longer.
Right.
But you want to find a weight that feels comfortable and go to a point of fatigue. And maybe your next session or two, your trainer will say, hey, let's get that next weight. And a lot of people are very, very hesitant to do that.
Mm.
It is scary because you think,
Uh-huh.
well, I want to avoid injury. Yes, we all want to avoid injury.
Uh-huh.
So you want to be gentle. Maybe you only pick up one for one side, and then maybe you can only do 2 reps of what your trainer's asking you to do.
Uh-huh.
And then if you have a really compassionate, supportive trainer, they'll say, okay, that was great. Let's go back to the weight you're comfortable with.
Okay.
And then when we do this exercise again, maybe we'll do 3 or 4. And then once you're comfortable with that new weight,
Right.
you'll do that a couple more sessions. And then you're back to that same progressive training where, okay, let's maybe try the next one.
So that brings me to the question of, how do you find a good weight, like, to start with lifting? Like, how many reps should you be able to do, until you get to, I don't know if it's fatigue or failure, but how many, should you be able to do? So let's say it's bicep curls. Well, how
Yes.
many should you be able to do?
Well, there's a few considerations I would say, especially depending on the age or any sort of restrictions. Maybe you're dealing with an elbow issue.
Uh-huh.
Then maybe you're going to use that lightweight and it's going to take you a lot more reps to get to fatigue.
Okay.
But if you're feeling great, your joints feel great,
Uh-huh.
and you're able to do 8 to 12 reps and you think I could do this all day long,
Uh-huh.
then I would say you are stronger than the weights you're carrying.
Okay.
You are
Okay.
stronger than that. You're not,
Right.
your
Right.
body is not feeling the resistance. You're not
Right.
getting to a fatigue point.
Okay. Okay.
Now it's again that mental kind of block, almost like your size. If you go into the shop and you think, I'm this size, That's
Mhm.
the only size you're looking. It's not about
Right.
what feels good on your
Right.
body,
Right.
so I try to say, forget about the size of the weights. You see 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe pick one up. Oh gosh, that's light.
Yeah.
And don't even look at the number on it
Right.
because
Right.
we're so accustomed. And then it depends on what else you're doing. So if you're going to some classes that are always using heavy weights, or you went to a class yesterday, I don't know what you did unless you tell me.
Right.
So you may be going to gravitate to the light weights, and if I am not intuitive or if I am not asking you questions and I'm going to say, no, grab that heavier weight,
Mhm.
you might say, I'm so sore from what I did yesterday.
I can hardly lift my arms, let
I
alone.
can't even lift my arms up. So that's one huge thing. You have to communicate with your personal trainer or your physical therapist or your doctor so they know what's going on.
Sure. It goes both ways, right? They can't read your mind. They cannot read your mind.
For
Yes, that
sure.
makes perfect sense to me. And so you made reference to if you have an injury in your elbow, or maybe arthritis or joint pain or injuries might be a consideration. And I like that you mentioned maybe personal trainer or a fitness class isn't the place to start. Maybe it's physical therapy. And that's a really great thought, because if you are in so much pain that you can't even imagine going to a class that you might enjoy, then taking the route of physical therapy first might be your first stop, and then hopefully graduate into some other things that, might be a little bit more fun, I guess.
Sure.
I would love to hear, Meg, a success story. Everyone loves a before and after, or a success story. Do you have one you can share with us about a client?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I have been very fortunate to get many notes, even years later. One that stands out to me right now is I had a client, gosh, I've had her before I obviously moved away. So some of those were a little hard breakups because I think I'd still be with them. But she was delightful, and she went to the Great Wall of China and on a big adventure. And when she came back, she said, the reason I'm doing this and the reason I'm so grateful we're working together was because I was looking around and we had a lot of stairs to climb where we were. And there were railings on all these stairs, and everyone was just kind of holding onto the railings. And I am just chugging up those stairs. And I thought, this is why I'm doing this. And I remember it just hit me so much in the most positive way because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. You were able to go on
Yes.
vacation and enjoy it. And then
Yes.
she's sharing that experience with me that she's just so grateful, money well spent. I mean, the things she was saying was just so touching, really nice. That's just one. I mean, I I had one gal who owns horses, and well, you're the horseback girl. So she said her trainer, she called her trainer,
Yeah.
told her she needed to get a personal trainer.
Yeah.
So I remember I did a lot of research and was looking up specific moves and what kind of fun toys we could use, the ball or the
Yeah.
resistance band. There's a lot of
Right.
fun
Yeah.
gym equipment you can use. And I
Yes.
think it was a few weeks after she came back and said, my horse trainer said, you must have done something or you must have gotten a trainer because you're really sitting on that saddle a lot better. And
Yes.
that
Yes.
was amazing.
Well, I was a backyard horseback rider, nothing like our daughter Jordan. She was really, it was a sport for her, just like somebody playing basketball or soccer or something, where she's very committed to it. Went for a while there, it was almost every day a week, or at least 5 days a week. And I'll tell you what, though, horseback riding requires muscles that I didn't even remember I had because I just went on a trail ride, which is nothing super challenging. And I got off that horse and I thought, oh my goodness, I forgot those muscles even existed. So I could see how, if you're in a specific sport, like you said there, like let's say you're a rower, that would be a very separate set of muscles that you're focusing on. So that's a great point. Peter and Jessica went to Iceland together and they were wanting to hike. And so Pete was like, I've got to make sure I can keep up to Jessica. And so he was running around the neighborhood with a backpack on with a jug of laundry detergent in it because he knew he was going to be carrying a backpack. So I love that thought of tailoring the workout specifically to not just your goals, but also maybe your specific activity that you like. That's a really neat way of thinking of it.
Absolutely. Just one other, I had a mom, she had daughters who were swimmers at a high school and it was off season. So they came in, she bought a package of 10 or something. And I remember it's so fun for me. I mean, I'm doing the research, checking out what would be beneficial. And you have to think, what can you do to improve your body to be then in a pool?
Sure. Right.
So you're working your lats or your upper back muscles or your shoulders or your core. Core is so much. And when you just said that about Peter, I just was researching about wearing weighted vests. Have you seen those videos?
I have, yeah.
So I didn't know much about it, but I remember in one lower back injury training I had to do, it was about wearing the weighted backpack. And well, why? And then wearing a weighted backpack, walking on unstable ground. And it was basically saying, I mean, you have to be careful, obviously, about your ankles and your joints, but all of your supporting muscles in your core are constantly trying to keep you up.
Right. They're adjusting to compensate. Yes.
So it just said, maybe it's your regular walk, but now you've increased your calorie burn or you've increased your load. So your muscles are firing in different ways. So that was just I just was reading about that recently. But
That's very interesting.
And one thing I do want to say, going back to about aging and finding a trainer or class or something, sometimes if we sign up for, let's say, a package that your fitness facility may have, in your mind, you think, even if it's not going well, I spent the money, I'm going to do it. But then maybe you have this person saying, run up this hill 30 times. And you're thinking, my knees hurt, my hips hurt, my back hurts. So you really want someone that's going to work with you personally. And then if it's not, I would encourage you to talk to that person, to adjust, talk to the facility, say, hey, do you have someone else? I might not be fitting with this person really well. You have to be an advocate for yourself.
Yes.
Just as much as you're hoping the trainer you're working with would be watching out for you, but you just want to be gentle with yourself.
Yes. And it reminds me of so many things you hear about meeting the person where they are instead of just making assumptions and like, oh, they said that they want to get strong. And so we're going to head on over to the where the guys are pumping the major iron. And that's like totally not where you are at that moment. It's only going to be frustrating. You could shop trainers would be a better way.
Yes, you want to be pushed, but you do not want to be pushed. I think I'm kind of the gentle trainer. One little side story is I had an aha moment recently at the gym. There was a young instructor and I didn't see the class or anything. I was getting ready for class, but I heard her talking to another instructor saying I had to really correct a lot of their squat forms and their squat forms really bad. And I remember I knew the demographic and the population of the class was an older population.
Yes.
And I thought, would I thought the same thing if I was a lot younger too?
Right.
Because I stopped and thought, maybe their knees don't bend. Maybe they can only hinge at the hip a little. So when you're not in it yourself,
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
It's really almost hard to think why I'm telling them to push this weight. Why are they not pushing the weight?
Right. Not realizing that
They
maybe they've
are.
had a knee replacement or
Yeah.
yeah, this is it. This is as far as this particular joint bends or goes. Yeah, for sure.
I had one client hire me specifically 110 package. She's like, I'm only going to do 10. I said, great, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And it was, I want to be able to get off the floor.
Yeah.
And she was, I think, 82. And she did say, you reminded me because of the knee replacement. She said, I've had a knee replacement. They told me it would last me 10, 15 years.
Uh-huh.
I need this to last me 10, 15 years.
Right.
And that was such a challenge, a good challenge,
Yeah.
because I got on that floor and I thought, what is the first step? What's our first session?
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
because I did have to make some semi steps in case I thought, well, we're going to first sit because people with knee replacements don't want to kneel on their
Mm.
knees, which is
Yeah.
understandable. So
Sure.
they need to have really good chest, strong muscles,
Right.
strong triceps muscles. So that was a really good. And I remember after that last session, she just felt so much stronger and she was very grateful for that investment of time and the money. So there's been really fun challengings because I will tell you, as a seasoned personal trainer now, the people that are young and healthy and fit, and
Uh-huh.
those are easy.
Yeah. And maybe a little boring, especially
Yeah. Run on the track for 10 minutes. Let's come lift a bunch of weights and get you
right.
nice and sweaty. And
Yeah.
they're happy and I'm happy and done.
The way they go. Yeah.
Yeah. But even if you came in, I think, oh gosh, I just want to protect this ankle.
Right.
And we'll start with that
Yeah.
assessment and your doctor's advice to me and to you of what best way to. And of course, I am not a doctor. I'm not a physical therapist. I'm not a doctor of the body. So, we have to stay within our scope of practice
Sure.
because you'll even see the influencers that are doing the workouts, but then they'll give you maybe some nutritional advice, or
Right.
you've
Right.
got to be
Right.
making sure you're getting the advice from the appropriate person.
Yes, yes. I think that's really important. Another thing I wanted to mention is in addition to being a personal trainer, you're also a fitness instructor for group classes.
Yes.
And I can imagine that the energy is very different in a group class. Can you kind of talk to me about that? Because I would love to find a class where I couldn't wait to go. It feels intimidating because I wanna feel like I really wanna go back, not like, "Oh, I'm afraid to go in," and so finding the right kind of class and Susan touched on this too about for CrossFit about how their community just really wanted to keep the gym open because it was such a great culture. And then when we talked to Laurel, she was saying she moved away and went to a different CrossFit and didn't feel that same environment at all. So I think shopping personal trainers, but also shopping group classes. So can you talk a little bit about how it's different from personal training and also what people might want to look for to find the right kind of group fitness class?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I absolutely adore, love, cherish group fitness so much. I mean, it was a love of mine before I even did it myself. I think it is a wonderful, wonderful social, physical, mental boost anybody can give themselves. And there's so many wonderful facilities. There is a class at a facility I teach. There's over 50 participants every single class, and it's in the gym because it's so big.
Mm.
And it is a mature population, and it's the most dedicated, hardworking group ever. Now, the group fitness has its place, personal training has its place. One of my one-on-one virtual clients, she was telling me about a group class she goes to, and she took a week off because she did feel that instructor has their eyes on 20 people. not on one person.
Right.
So you have to understand that there's that dynamic. You're going to have an
Yeah.
instructor. You have to really rely on listening to your own body as you move. I try to give those cues at class, listen to your body, come to class hydrated, nourished to your own, limitations if you have any liquid restrictions or anything like that. But the group fit, it's amazing. And if you can find a great facility, I think there's so many water classes, land classes, the TRX, the specialty classes, senior mature population classes, chair yoga. I mean, it's endless. And the membership includes it all typically. So it's a nice balance if you're not into the one-on-one with a trainer.
And I can imagine that on a day when you don't feel particularly motivated yourself, you go because you know you're going to be able to borrow the energy from the group, right? To build you up. Or you don't want Martha to say, "Oh my gosh, Kerri, I didn't see you on Wednesday. Where were you?" Right? Or Martha's going to call you up and be like, "Hey, girl, how come you weren't at the class?" So I can't imagine how it would be a really supportive community, and using that energy of the group could probably be very fun. I used to take step aerobics. I loved step aerobics. It was so much fun. Do they still do step
They
aerobics?
do. I
Do
just
they?
subbed a class and it was a blast. And you are so right. You are going to get the call. You're going to get the text. You are going to get those words the next week, or if you didn't show up,
Right.
where were you? And I absolutely love it. And I tell my group as soon as I see them, wow, you had about 10 wins already before you are even in class because you got
Oh,
up, you got your shoes on, you got dressed, you got in your car, you got on the bus, you walked in the door.
right.
There's a million wins already just to get in. And then you get the benefit of being in this wonderful group with people that you just love seeing on a regular basis. And it does become just kind of part of your schedule if that's what you like to do. I know there's outdoorsy people, there's the group fit people. So yeah,
Right.
it's really nice to build that community.
Yeah. Yeah. And to find what works best for you. Yeah. I love that. That's really great. Well, Meg, you've given me so many inspiring things to think about today. And I'm hoping that you and I can meet behind the scenes and you can give me some suggestions as to where to even start on some kind of strength program, because I feel inspired now that I've talked to you. And I think I'm going to do a little research to see if I can find a group class, because I used to love group fitness. I really did. I remember when I was expecting with, it would have been Jessica, doing doing the water aerobics, and then there was one where you wore a belt. It was water running. There was
Yes.
another girl in the pool too who was also expecting. And so there's these two pregnant women with these belts on, running
That's
through the water. It
amazing.
must have looked really funny, but it's so great on your joints because you know.
There is gosh, I know I've been talking your ear off today, but I don't know if it's national, but when I was in Oak Brook, Illinois, a gal had a class called Fluid Running, and she did design it specifically. I don't know if it was for herself or her son who had an injury and
Uh-huh.
was trying to get back into strength and running.
Uh-huh.
And people, you could not even get into that class. I mean,
Really?
people said they've never felt better. They're in the water, they're running. Like
Yeah.
you said,
Yeah.
I mean, they are running and you feel like $1,000,000.
Wow. Wow. That's so cool.
Well, Kerri, I didn't even answer your questions. I know in our last session, we were going to build something for you, weren't we?
Yeah. We were. Is that going to be a whole separate episode?
Separate episode. Yeah. And you're going to teach me how to design a room.
Okay, Meg, I have a question for you.
Okay.
So I like to work out in our family room because the windows are so nice and bright and it's so sunny in there. And we have the big TV so I can put a video up there. And I've got my little rolly cart with my few things on it. What sorts of things would you recommend that people have who are just starting out to put either in their little home gym or their closet or their little rolly cart. What would you recommend as a starter kind of setup?
Perfect. Well, I love that you have the cart and it's ready to go. That's step one. You want everything contained and together. If you are feeling comfortable getting on the floor, a mat is perfect. And then maybe a really nice light pair of weights for yourself at this point, medium, heavy, and a easy resistance band because you can do so much with that.
Okay. Yeah, I love it. One of my favorite things is I love a therapy ball. Like to lie back on and stretch. Oh, that feels so good.
They are amazing.
They're great. So that's maybe a little splurge. I remember I I picked up a jump rope. I saw this girl on Instagram who jumps rope like crazy.
She's so cute. I know
Isn't
who you're
she
talking
adorable?
about.
Yes.
Yes.
And she does all these routines to the different music, and she's amazing. And I was like, oh, that looks so fun. It is so hard to jump rope.
Jump roping is crazy. In
So
my big class in the senior population, we always are the best jump ropers because we use imaginary ropeless jump ropes and we're twirling around and I'm like, you're amazing. Wow. So we have such a blast. I mean, it's
that's
all
great.
about putting some fun music on. Oh yeah,
Yes.
music for sure.
Yes. And I think I heard that the act of jumping is supposed to help to stimulate bone growth, isn't it?
I have read an article about that. I'm not an expert, so don't ask me the actual physical, but there was one gal that told me she kind of stomps up the stairs because that slight impact.
Right.
I have to for sure get the correct information before I'm not a doctor about that.
We're not experts on bone growth.
Exactly.
Do your own research or talk to your doctor about it.
For sure.
Well, thank you so much, Meg, for your expertise. And I look forward to building that workout program.
Absolutely. Let's chat again about it. Thanks so much.
Sounds good. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next Friday.
Next Friday.
Bye. The topics discussed on Redesigning Health and Home are for entertainment purposes only. We are not physicians and we are not counselors. So please just enjoy this as it's intended to be, which is for entertainment purposes only.
Thanks for listening to the Redesigning Health and Home podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, we would love for you to like, share, and follow along so you can catch us on all future episodes. You can find me, Meg, at Fit, Fed, Feeling Good on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
And you can find me, Kerri, on my website at homestylewithkerri.com and on Instagram and Facebook at Homestyle with Kerri. That's Kerri. And you can find both of us at Redesigning Health and Home on Instagram and Facebook. So join us next time for more inspiration on creating a home and a lifestyle that truly supports your best health.